give a little overview of Srila Rupa Goswami's life history. We can see from these dates that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and even Raghunath Das Goswami were all contemporaries. And between Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, there was just 1 year age difference, though Rupa Goswami considered Sanatana Goswami to be his spiritual master. Krishnadas Kaviraj, who came to Vrindavan long after, he was able to get the association of Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami there. And by hearing from them, he was able to later write the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it is from Chaitanya Charitamrita that we get most of the details of Rupa Goswami's life. In the Bhakti Ratnakara is described 7 generations previous of Rupa Goswami's lineage. He was born in the Sarasvat Brahman community in the Bharadraj Gotra. And the 7th previous ancestor was actually the king of Karnataka, but also a great Vedic scholar in Yajurveda as well. His son Aniruddha followed him in the same line. And then Aniruddha had 2 sons, amongst them Rupeshwar. He was a great scholar. And the other son, Harihara, he studied military arts. So when Aniruddha passed on the kingdom to the 2 sons, Harihara attacked Rupeshwar and drove him out of the kingdom. And that was how Rupeshwar finally came to, first to Palasta, Shikara Bhumi, and then settled finally in West Bengal in Naihati. So there he had his son, his youngest son. He had many sons, 5 sons, 18 daughters. And his youngest son, Mukunda, he stayed in Naihati. And then his son, Kumara, went to Jessore in Bangladesh, where he settled. He also had many sons, amongst them Sanatan, Rupa, and Ballabha. So Sri Ballabha, being the youngest, he was the only one amongst the 3 of them that had a son, and that was Jiva. And they, in order to do their studies, came to West Bengal, and they were studying under Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his brother, Madhusudan Vidyavanas. I can never remember his name. Yes, thank you. So they were studying there, and their original names were Santosh Bhatta, coming from the Bhatta clan, Amar Bhatta, and Sri Ballabha. And their family originally was Telugu speaking, but in their studies, they learned Sanskrit, Arabic, Persian. They became great scholars there. Now, at that time, all of North India was being controlled by the Pathans. And in Bengal, there was a very ambitious ruler named Nawab Hussain Shah. And he was advised by his Maulavi, which is the Muslim guru, that there are 2 very scholarly Brahmin boys, and if you can engage them in your ministerial service, then your kingdom will prosper. So Hussain Shah didn't know who those boys were. But there's one anecdote, perhaps it's history, we don't know now, but that one mason had built a huge tower in honor of Hussain Shah. And they had gone to the top of the tower, and the Nawab was appreciating it very much. And the mason at that time said to the Nawab that, I can build something even better than this for you. And the Nawab took it wrongly, being very arrogant and very proud. He thought that he was being insulted by the mason. And he immediately ordered his men to throw the mason off of the tower and kill him. So the ministers were looking at this, and suddenly Nawab Hussain Shah said to one of his ministers, "Go immediately to Ramakeli." That was the kingdom, the capital. And the minister thought, well, I don't know why I should go, but he's telling me to go, and I don't want to get thrown off of the tower, so I'll go immediately. And he went to Ramakeli. And by that time, because the brothers were studying there, he met up with the two brothers, and they asked this minister, "Why have you come here? Have you come looking for some mason?" Because the minister didn't know it, but everyone in Ramakeli knew that that was the place where masons were very prominent. So he got the mason, brought him back to the Nawab, and informed him that he met two very scholarly Brahmins, and they recommended that he bring this mason back to him. So then the Nawab understood that these were the two men that he was looking for, and forced them into his service there. He gave them very good salary, all nice, opulent facilities, and made them the finance minister and the chief minister. And because they were then forcibly engaged in Muslim service, he also gave them Muslim names. And Rupa was Dabir Kash, Sanatan was Sakar Malik. So, because they had very nice facilities there now in Ramakeli, beautiful homes, they then began to set up their home as spiritual centers. They recreated the whole atmosphere of Vrindavan there, planting kadamba trees and putting Radhakund and Shamakund in a grove of kadamba trees, and they would do their meditation there. And at that time there would be many sages and saints coming to the capital, and they would host them, treat them very nicely, offer them all respects, and sometimes some saintly persons would come from Navadvip. So the brothers heard about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and had a great longing to meet him. So because they couldn't leave their service, they began writing letters to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, begging them, please can we have your darshan? So Mahaprabhu, he was in Puri, he was going to come now, he wanted to go to Vrindavan. And he decided to take the Bengal route at that time. So when he went through Bengal, because he was so much loved there, thousands of people were following him on the road. And finally, he reached Ramakeli. And by that time, he had such an entourage that the Nawab even noticed. And he wondered, who is this man with thousands of followers? He's not paying them to come with him. He must be a prophet. So the Nawab could understand that this saintly person, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, must be very godly. And he began to inquire from his ministers to find out, who is this person with all of these followers? So the ministers, they, out of fear, they tried to convince the Nawab that he's nothing, nobody to be afraid of. He's just passing through the village. These people are they're just foolish, they're following him. And finally, he called Rupa and Sanatan to ask who was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they also insisted, nothing to be worried about. He'll be going in a day or two. Just let him pass and don't worry about him. So they understood that the Nawab had noted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they now feared for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. So in the night, in disguise, they went to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And from a distance, they put straw in their mouth. They offered their pranam dandavats, and so many beautiful prayers they offered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, before that time, when they were doing correspondence, not getting letters, Mahaprabhu had given them only one response, and that was a cryptic sloka. Translation being, if a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs, but within her heart she is always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. So now, the three brothers, they finally met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, began offering beautiful prayers. And they had always felt themselves to be lower even than Jagai and Madhai. Because Jagai and Madhai, they were also in the Brahminical clan. They had just committed some sinful acts. And by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, they were able to give up all their sinful activities. But Rupa and Sanatan, they had even accepted the service of a Muslim. So they felt that they were even more fallen than Jagai and Madhai. And they begged Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his mercy because they had heard from all these visiting saints that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not distinguish. He gave his mercy to everyone. So in their prayers, one of the prayers was, if you simply deliver us by your transcendental strength, then certainly your name will be known as Patita Pavan, the savior of the fallen souls. So Mahaprabhu was very touched by their humility, and he assured them that they were actually his eternal associates, and very soon they would be freed from their bondage of service and be able to join him. So soon after that, a few months later, Rupa and Anupam, they were able to become free of the Muslim service, the Nawab service. And they took all of their wealth and they put it into 2 big boats. They had so many gold coins, it was worth crores and crores of rupees. And they were going to bring all of these coins to Jessore to distribute. Now Prabhupada says it's very exemplary how they did this distribution, and it's what the Vaishnavas should follow. They didn't give everything to their wife and then come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with just their beads. No, they gave 50% to the Vaishnavas and the Brahmins for Krishna conscious promulgation. They gave only 25% to their family members, because family members expect something, they have to have some inheritance from the fathers. And they kept 25% as emergency. 10,000 coins they kept with the grocer. And they sent a cryptic message to Sanatana Goswami that if you ever need help, we've kept these coins with the grocer. Now Sanatana Goswami, he couldn't get out so easily because he was the chief in charge of the finances. The Nawab considered him to be like his younger brother. And he realized psychologically that the Nawab will never let me go because I serve him so nicely. So he loves me because of the service that I do. So if I do something to displease him, then he will reject me. So he turned in a leave of absence. He said that he was sick, and he stayed home, and of course this is Sanatana Goswami, we all know that story. Eventually, with the help of the 10,000 coins, he got his freedom. In the meantime, while Rupa and Anupam were in Jessore, they sent 2 messengers to find out where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. And they found out that Mahaprabhu had already left Puri and he was on his way to Vrindavan. So immediately they left and started for Vrindavan as well. So Mahaprabhu, he reached Mathura, and because of his ecstatic symptoms, Vrindavana was very worried for his health, whether he would even be able to make it back to Puri. So by some ploy, he took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Vrindavan, and they were on their way back to Puri. As Rupa and Anupam were coming, they stopped in Prayagraj, and they met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. Now, even in Prayagraj, Mahaprabhu had a great following. This was the second time he had come. By that time, the people had become very attracted to him. So he was going to a more solitary place because of the crowds at Dasashramedha Ghat, where the Bindu Madhava temple is. And it was there that Anupam and Rupa again met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they made beautiful prayers again. And one of those prayers is the famous one that we offer to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gora Tvishe Namaha. O most merciful incarnation, you are Krishna himself appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani, and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances to you. They offered many other prayers, but we only have 15 minutes, so we'll just go on with the life history. So in the 10 days that Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa and Anupam, he began at the very beginning of the 84 lakh species, and how if one is very fortunate, they come in contact with the Guru by the grace of Krishna, and within their heart is implanted the Bhakti Lata Bij. And then Mahaprabhu described how this Bhakti Lata Bij is nourished. It finally crosses Viraja River. It entangles itself at the lotus feet of Krishna. And at that place, because it has shelter, the gardener, that's us, still in the material world, is watering the roots of the Bhakti Lata. And the fruits and the flowers are falling down at the gardener that we can then enjoy, the fruits of love. And then Mahaprabhu went on to discuss the Kramapant of love of God, how one begins with Shraddha, goes all the way up to Prema. So within 10 days, he infused within Rupa Goswami all of the principal teachings of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And then Mahaprabhu, as we just heard from Prashanta Mataji, then embraced Rupa, and Rupa did not want to leave the association of Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu explained to him, you're now my disciple, and I'm giving you instructions, what I want you to do. So these instructions, he gave 3. One is to find and establish the lost, ancient, and original deities of Lord Chaitanya. 2, to rediscover and restore the holy places associated with his Leela in Vrindavan. And 3, to write and preach Gaudiya Vaishnava theology. So, after Mahaprabhu left on his way, he went into a boat to go to Varanasi, and Rupa Goswami fainted at that place. They then proceeded to Vrindavan to fulfill the desires of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Rupa Goswami, in his humility, he gave one sloka. Although I am the lowest of men and have no knowledge, the inspiration to write transcendental literatures about devotional service has been mercifully bestowed upon me. Therefore, I am offering my obeisances at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has given me the chance to write these books. Now, Prabhupada's comment to this prayer is, we always request members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to publish as many books as possible and distribute them widely throughout the world. By thus following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami, one can become a Rupanuga devotee. So this is Prabhupada's definition of Rupanuga, to publish and distribute the transcendental literature, particularly the literature written by Rupa Goswami. So now, after a few months, Rupa and Anupam, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave permission that you can come and see me later in Puri. So they were waiting for Sanatana Goswami to arrive, because Mahaprabhu had told Rupa, when they first met in Prayag, he asked, where is Sanatana? And Rupa explained what had happened. And Mahaprabhu immediately said, he's already free. He will be coming very soon. So, as was described by Prashanta, there are two paths. And Sanatan, he was told by Mahaprabhu to take the main road, the public road. And Rupa and Anupam, they took the Ganga path. So they crossed paths and they didn't meet each other. When they reached Bengal, the entire history has been given already. Anupam there left his body, and it took some time for Rupa Goswami to placate the family and make all the arrangements after the demise of his brother. Then he wanted to meet up with the Bengali devotees who also were coming at that time to Puri. But by the time he was finished taking care of Anupam, they had already left for Puri. So he had to travel alone. And on the way, he went to Satyabhamapuram, and he got the inspiration there by Satyabhama Devi herself. And he decided at that time that the work that he was doing, because his literature, we have Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. So some of the works of Rupa Goswami, they are in Sambandha. They're about Krishna Tattva. And some of his works, such as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, they are in Bhakti Tattva. They describe the process of Bhakti Yoga. And most of Rupa Goswami's works are in the Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana, and that is the Rasa Tattva. Because the majority of Rupa Goswami's works, because he was one of the eternal associates of the Supreme Lord, Rupa Manjari, who was the foremost assistant to Lalita Devi. Lalita Devi being a gopi, she would not be present when Radha and Krishna were having their pastimes, intimate pastimes. But the Manjaris would be present and would assist Radha and Krishna. And Rupa Manjari being the most prominent, the leader and chief of the Manjaris, she could understand these internal pastimes of Radha and Krishna and was able to put them into writing in his books. So that's why he's most known for his Rasa Tattva literature. When later, when Rupa and Sanatan went to live permanently in Vrindavan, the devotees who lived in Puri, whenever anyone would come from Vrindavan, they would ask, how are Rupa and Sanatan? And they would describe the lifestyle of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. They would never stay more than 3 days under one tree. And they wouldn't stay together, they would stay in different places. And that was why, for instance, the Terkadam pastime took place, because they were in different places. And they were so highly respected. And their madhukari, they wouldn't even take roti, they would just take some atta and mix it with Jamuna water, roll it into batis, throw it into a fire, and have those batis. They would just roast some chana with it. Very austere lives. And Prabhupada warns that nowadays people are trying to imitate Rupa Goswami simply by putting on white cloth. Because Prabhupada explains that they did not wear saffron. They were on the Paramahamsa level, and they wore white. So nowadays, they put on the white dress, and they cry, and they roll on the ground, and then they go smoke beedis. So we can't imitate the austerities, the tapasya that was being performed by the 6 Goswamis. But we can learn from them, from their literature, about how to perform pure devotional service. Otherwise, as Rupa Goswami explains in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, if we don't follow the rules and regulations given in the Puranas and the other Vedic scriptures, simply our devotional service is a disturbance. So therefore, Rupa Goswami, he set the foundation for all of the coming generations of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And for that reason, we are all called to this day Rupanugas. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he infused, first of all, he gave his full mercy to Rupa Goswami. And because he was the recipient of the mercy of Mahaprabhu, therefore he received the potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to write these books. So those are the two most important things that we receive from our Guru, his mercy and his potency to preach. Nowadays, no one can live, if they come here to Vrindavan, who here, raise your hand, if anyone is living under a different tree every night. Anyone is living like that? No. No. So Prabhupada explains that we can't imitate their activities, nor can we imitate their process of devotional service. Acharya means that according to time and circumstance, we give the principles by which people can actually take up Krishna consciousness. And the main principle is always remember Krishna and never forget him. So Prabhupada gives the example of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, how although his disciple wanted to build a palatial temple for him at Bagh Bazar, he agreed to live in that temple because according to time and place, the devotees can only accept a certain amount of austerity. So Srila Prabhupada also, as Founder-Acharya of ISKCON, he was able to ascertain how much austerity we can accept. And therefore, very gradually, Prabhupada introduced the regulative principles in Krishna consciousness. So when Rupa arrived in Puri, by that time it was the Rath-yatra time, and Mahaprabhu, he was chanting a very esoteric love song in front of Lord Jagannath. And only Swarup Damodar could understand the internal meaning of that song that he was singing, because it sounded like an ordinary love song. But Rupa Goswami, he was able to understand what the meaning of that was. So the original song, translation, that very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva river, under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. So Rupa Goswami, understanding the internal meaning of this sloka, he rewrote it, and he put it on a palm leaf, and in the kutir where he was staying with Haridas Thakur, he stuck it in the roof. When he went to take his bath, Mahaprabhu came to see Rupa and Haridas Thakur, and he saw the palm leaf in the roof and read it. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would still like to go to the bank of the Jamuna, beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing, the fifth note, within that forest of Vrindavan. So because Rath-yatra is a representation of the inhabitants of Vrindavan bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan from Kurukshetra, Rupa Goswami could understand all of this, and therefore he wrote this sloka. And when Mahaprabhu read this sloka, he exclaimed to Swarup Damodar, how could Rupa understand my heart? And Sanatana Goswami said, you must have infused him with this understanding. By your mercy he can understand. So therefore, we sing that Rupa Goswami, he is manubhishtam. He could understand the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So after 10 months, Rupa Goswami went back to Vrindavan, and at that time he discovered the murti of Govinda Dev Ji at Gomatila. He discovered the deity of Srimati Vrindadevi that is still now in Kamyavan. And he began to excavate the holy places. In other words, he very seriously, for the rest of his life, began to carrying out the instructions that Mahaprabhu had given him in Vrindavan. And finally, his nephew joined him, and Jiva became the prominent disciple of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami was both very loving and very stern with Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami became his editor and proofreader of his books, and sometimes Rupa Goswami would share his books. After he had finished Lalita Madhava, he gave that book that drama, to Raghunath Das Goswami to read. And Raghunath Das, he would not part with that book because it's all about separation in Dwarka, the feelings of separation. Rupa asked him for it back, that I have to do some editing, and he held it against his chest. He wouldn't give it back to Rupa. So what Rupa did was he wrote another book called Danakeli Komudi, which is the playful pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. He gave that to Raghunath Das Goswami so that he could get Lalita Madhava back. And then Raghunath Das Goswami was so happy reading that book that he forgot all of his crying and his feelings of separation. So this is a beautiful exchange of pastimes between the residents of Vrindavan and the 6 Goswamis. The hub of the universe is considered to be Radha Damodar Temple because that was, whenever they could, that was where they met. That's where their library was. And finally, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj, and Bhugarva Goswami, they all have their samadhis there. And that was where Srila Prabhupada received his inspiration. Prabhupada once told the devotees, I used to look through the window at the tomb of Rupa Goswami. It was too much ecstatic. In one of Srila Prabhupada's rooms at Radha Damodar, Prabhupada would look out this window right into the courtyard where Rupa Goswami's samadhi was. And it was there that he got the inspiration from Rupa Goswami, how he would preach in the Western countries. Prabhupada had begun translating Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu long before he came to America. He had done it sloka by sloka, and he was putting those translations into his Back to Godhead magazine tabloids. But when Prabhupada was in America finally, and he had enough resources, he established the ISKCON Press, and he also, for the publishing, one of his dearmost disciples, Jayananda Das Brahmachari, gave him $5,000. So you'll see at the beginning, the preface of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Prabhupada thanks his disciples because finally, in 1970, Prabhupada was able to publish with that donation, and with the help of his disciples who are now doing the ISKCON Press, from transcription up until binding, only the devotees, they did all of the printing work and press work to print that book, Nectar of Devotion. So Prabhupada, he showed his appreciation to his disciples, and Prabhupada was so affectionate to his disciples, he named one of his disciples Rupanuga. And if anyone knows Rupanuga Das, he was a great preacher. He made so many Maharati devotees in our movement. And once while Prabhupada was sitting with the devotees, he pointed to Rupanuga. He said, oh, there's Rupanuga. He is so beautiful, just like Rupa Goswami. So Prabhupada had so much affection for his disciples who were helping him carry out the instructions that his spiritual master had given him. And for him, Rupa Goswami was the inspiration how he was going to preach. And when Prabhupada finally brought the devotees back to India, specifically back to Vrindavan, our first Kartik festival was held at the Samadhi of Rupa Goswami. We had a huge grand total of about 50 devotees at this Kartik festival. Now you can multiply that by 1,000, 10,000, and that's the exponential quality of Krishna consciousness, always expanding. So Prabhupada, at that Kartik festival, he gave his Nectar Devotion series, which we can all still listen to. And still to this day, all of the generations of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they were all considered Rupanugas, because it was he who gave the groundwork for which we are all following, getting the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore we're all sitting here today by the mercy of Rupa Goswami. Hare Krishna. Daivi.